Hello, welcome to the Civil Rights Podcast Through Art, hosted by me, Will Boschild. Today we will dive into Three, a powerful piece by African American activist and artist Lorna Simpson. Layered with strength, tension, and minimalism, this artwork reaches a simple outer layer with a deep core of messages stemming from her personal experience and history. Lorna Simpson was born on August 13th, 1960, in Brooklyn, New York. After attending the High School Art and Design in New York, she studied painting in her undergraduate years, and she slowly switched to photography and traveled to Europe and Africa. She developed her skill at documentary photography while earning an MFA at the University of California, San Diego. Her images were photo text on the photographs and represented deeper meanings to the artwork. While her photographs had a variety of visuals, they all carried one common trait, usually featuring African American women as the human subjects. Not only was Simpson's art perceived as incredible, but it was also positively impacted African Americans since she became the first African American woman to exhibit at the Venice Biennale, an international arts festival. In 1985, Simpson won a National Endowment Award for her work and laid a foundation for African American women in the art field. While Lorna Simpson has many pieces of powerful artwork we could focus on, let's shift back to Three. In 1994, Lorna Simpson created Three, which was a case of three wishbone outlines cut deep in the piece of felt. Made from wood, ceramic, bronze, and lithographic, the smooth brown box reveals three wishbones, an object that symbolizes luck, hope, and endless possibilities. Next to the box, propped up, is another piece of wood. Painted on it is a wishbone, understating wish number 1, wish number 2, and wish number 3. This artwork stuck out to me, showing the representation of strength African Americans needed with being segregated and oppressed in America. Let's take a step back in time when the segregation started. During the Reconstruction era, a famous white actor named Thomas Dartmouth Rice performed a play using blackface. His character's name was Jim Crow, and from that point on, it was used as a derogatory term for African Americans. In 1877, the Supreme Court ruled that states cannot be prohibited segregation on common carriers such as railroads, streetcars, and riverboats. Therefore, whites and blacks must be separated on forms of transportation. In 1883, the Supreme Court declared the Civil Rights Act of 1875 unconstitutional, leading the popular term separate but equal. While whites and blacks were allowed to be in the same freight cars now, they had assigned seats, such as with African Americans in the back of the bus or the back of the railroad cart, and whites in the front. This stemmed from Plessy v. Ferguson, a landmark in 1896 when the Supreme Court handled a case when Homer Plessy, an African American, refused to sit in his segregated train car seat, challenging Louisiana's segregation laws. The court ruled that as long as the separate facilities for the races were equal, segregation did not violate the 14th Amendment Equal Protection Clause. This decision legitimized the Jim Crow laws and institutionalized racial discrimination in the United States for decades. Between 1896 and the 1950s, African Americans were forbidden to have access to the same places as whites, such as hospitals, churches, bathrooms, schools, parks, businesses, and many more public places. African Americans were also not able to buy houses or property in certain towns and neighborhoods, as well as systematic racism. Their sense of hatred against them was prevalent of the KKK, a hate group that advocates for white supremacy and committed hate crimes against African Americans through this era within the United States by lynching. Finally, in 1954, Brown v. Board of Education declared Racial segregation in public schools unconstitutional. The court ruled unanimously, but separate but equal. Educational facilities were inherently unequal, thus ending decades of legalized racial segregation in American schools. This decision was pivotal in the civil rights movement, as it mandated the desegregation of schools across the United States. In the 1960s, Congress passed the Civil Rights Act of 1964, the Voting Rights Act of 1965, and the Fair Housing Act of 1968. These laws led to the end of the Jim Crow laws and helped African Americans eliminate these separate but under law equal in America. Even though these laws apply to all African Americans, men and women, the artwork by Lorna Simpson targets the women's point of view. To emphasize what Simpson was trying to say, there are two important historical events I'd like to point out. On December 1st, 1945, Rosa Parks found a seat on a bus in Montgomery, Alabama after work. African Americans were forced to sit in the back of the bus as the front was reserved for whites only. After refusing to give up her seat in the white-only section to a white man, she was arrested. This sparked the Montgomery bus boycott, which led to the Supreme Court ruling that segregation on buses was unconstitutional. The second example is going to be Ruby Bridges. She was the only African American child to be admitted into the white elementary school after the state of Louisiana attempted to desegregate. They achieved this by forcing these African American students to test into the white-only schools to see if they were academically prepared. On November 14th, 1960, a 6-year-old girl, Ruby Bridges, dressed for school. She had to be escorted by 4 federal marshals because of the white protesters, people yelling, throwing, and angrily mobbing around the school due to Ruby Bridges being an African American student attending their white-only elementary school. Some children's parents even pulled their child out of their school since they didn't want their kid to be in the same room as Ruby as a protest. Through these two women and many other stories, Simpson's artwork shows a deeper meaning and appreciation of what these women sacrificed to not only stand up for their people, but to ignite a movement that aims to eliminate racism in our society. The Civil Rights era marked the turning point in the constant struggle of African Americans in the United States due to the Jim Crow laws, systematic segregation, and societal racism. While racism is still very prevalent today, our process as a society is highly attributed to people like Ruby Bridges and Rosa Parks who used their strength and sacrificed their lives to make other African American lives better in America. Artists like Lorna Simpson echo their stories, further pushing their agenda in an attempt to remove racism from society by using history, art, and stories to inspire and inform today's society and what is right and wrong about our world. Lorna Simpson continues to grow as an artist, as she has shifted her focus to video installations. Since 2015, she has been debuting paintings as well, being featured in many festivals and popular pieces of powerful art that represent African American women and the struggles they had and have, drawing attention to support an issue that still exists in our world today.